it's Noctis. Subscribe to Vincent Valentine EX Turk channel.
What's up, my archfiends of chaos? This is your King of Night Vincent Valentine EX Turk. And since I got so much swag on and I look real good, you know, got me some good, you know, just wearing my good clothes and stuff like that, and I just feel real good. I feel like I got super Crystallis swag. So I'm gonna go ahead and make another Final Fantasy video on the top of my head. This will be the follow-up video to all the events of Type 0 going to Final Fantasy 13. So this one's gonna be expressly only a Final Fantasy Type 0 video and nothing else. But it still plays in the Final Fantasy 13 saga due to the fact that it's a Crystallis Novia. It's a Chrysalis Novia, you know, game. So the character Emina. Why is Emina so important? Besides fan service, besides Final Fantasy material. Well, I'm here to tell you why she's important. She's a record keeper. Now, what is a record keeper? If you remember the phone game that came out before, you remember that one phone game that came out way before Brave Exodus? You know that one phone game? Yes, there was where the character was a record keeper of all the events that happened in every Final Fantasy universe. But since this is about 13's universe only, Emina can only keep record of one universe, and that's the Type 0, which goes into Final Fantasy 13. Like I said in the fan theory before, Academia is the same place in Final Fantasy 13 too. And I think it was being built in 13.1. I'm not sure. Again, I have not beaten 13.1 because I'm still stuck on the Hectanir battle. And oh my fucking god, those you know, those Aeons or Eidolons are so powerful, even stronger than the Fal'Cie bosses. Like, you think Bartolomew's was bad. You gotta think when you get to Hectanir for people who's still playing Final Fantasy 13, but nonetheless, Emina plays an important role because she's a record keeper. That's why she don't fight in battles. I mean, she's also a teacher for one of the classes, but she's also a record keeper, and a record keeper's job is to keep record of everything that happened for future generations. Even if the school was destroyed, no matter what ending you got, they all come to one path. Because whether the school was still there, or whether the school gets destroyed and Class 0 dies and turns into l'Cie. And it turns into l'Cie. You know, Emina keeps the records in her stash, meaning the only place that never got tempered in Academia was that area. Even if Academia got destroyed, her place to stay or her dorm with all those books still stay there. At least, even if it got destroyed, there's a few books, there's a few records that get dropped on the ground after the end of Type 0. Those are all the records she kept of everything that happened, all the wars, the assassination attempt against one of the leaders, I don't know if you call it feudal leaders, against one of the empresses, you know, the attack, and even the final judgment of Cid Rulestein. And no matter what ending you got, before anything happened to Emina, before the school got destroyed, and Emina got into the crossfire of it, she made a record that Class 0 was the one who saved the day by defeating the very first Fal'Cie, being Cid Rulestein. Or even if you got the other ending where she ends up being your new teacher, this woman is more than just fan service. She's more than just Final Fantasy. She's more than a sexy, teenage-looking version of Lucretia Crescent. She's actually important. Even though, yes, talking to her does change the events a little bit. Like, Kurosami dies if you talk to Emina. If you have any interaction with Emina, Kurosami dies, but that was supposed to happen. And the reason why I say that's supposed to happen, there's actually a comic book for or graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, for Type Zero, and it's even English translated, which I will do a review once I end up buying that graphic novel. But Emina is a big part of that novel. It talks about everything Emina was doing a little bit, as well as Ace and the normal people. Meaning that she's more important than you think. She's just as important as how Luna Freya is to help the Star Scourge. You know, they're not just a pretty face. Meaning that females in Final Fantasy games are more important than any females in any video games. In any video game series. Even if they don't fight, because Emina does not fight. In fact, Emina doesn't even go out to battle. She stays in the dorm. But anything that's reported, any successful missions that are reported by Class Zeros, Class Zeros get sent to her. And that's why you see her in the room writing in all those books. Some of it, yeah, she's grading her students' work. But she's also putting in a report because Emina is a record keeper. She keeps the records that happen. And that's why in Final Fantasy 13-2, even though it's way in the future, Hope was able to access a few of those records. Like I said, a little bit of book, even if the building was destroyed and they refurbished it and stuff like that, there'd be still some books lying around. In destroyed places, there's something. Books do survive. You'll be surprised how many books survive. There have been in the real world. There have been books that survived world wars and got translated into newer print books by the source material that pretty much got beat up and stuff like that and damaged. Who's not to say that Emina Hanaharu's records, even if the rest of them all burnt down, there's actually a few record books. Or since she said Final Fantasy characters could use magic, what if it's possible she's a magic user as well? And she put a barrier on the books, on that bookshelf. So even if somehow Sid or Wolfenstein won that battle and sent the Militestan Empire to destroy Academia, those books would never be touched, even after death. Meaning that she'd have to do like how King Regis did with the ring. It would drain up a lot of her energy. And you know what? This is where it makes sense. That's probably why she does not fight anymore. There's probably a time where Emina used to go out and wars with her class, because she's a captain. But she got weaker because she used all her magic to guard those records, because those records would be important, because it would be important to foretell the story between the war between Fal'Cie and L'Cie. Now, again, Final Fantasy 15 is cut off, so we're not going to be going in that deep in the future. So the last game will be Lightning's Return, where Lightning defeats the father of all L'Cie, Fal'Cie, sorry. The father of all Fal'Cie, Fal'Cie. But this could be the defining moment of everything that happens. Maybe this is also how they figured out time travel. And this will also figure out more mysteries of Final Fantasy 13-2. If L'Cie has kind of the same powers as the Fal'Cie has, then they could probably figure out time travel, which makes the whole plot of Final Fantasy 13-2 and makes Caius come to the regular timeline to stop Sarah from changing the future, because Sarah wants to, bring Lightning back, because Caius kills Lightning because Lightning's the new Etro, and Caius hates any Etro. But nonetheless, this also could lead to events of Lightning's return too, as well. Even though they go into a new world because Pulse gets destroyed, so everyone that was on Pulse that survived got transferred to the Ark and was sent to the new world. But it was a trial world where Benevelza passes judgment, so Lightning had to save all the people that Benevelza deemed worthy. Either people that worship him or he deemed deserves a second chance. But what I'm trying to say is that all these records were there before. The start of it all was by Emina's hands. even though the magic that she used weakened her, and why she doesn't go fight wars anymore, is because she used all that power to guard the records. Because those records are precious. That's why you see her look like she's grading paper. Who's not to say that instead she's writing the records of everything Class Zero did? That's why she likes Class Zero. When you play as Ace or anybody and you talk to her, she goes like, "Oh, you guys are the famous Class Zero." Why would she say that? Because she writes more about Class Zero than any other class. Because Class Zero fought the Militestan Empire. And the Militestan Empire wants to resurrect the first fal'Cie. And not knowingly, Sid Orulstein was the first fal'Cie all this time. All this time. He was the first fal'Cie all this time. And she put a record of that. Of everything, because I'm pretty sure Class Zero collected plans from each base of the Militestan Empire. And gave it to Emina, and gave it to the school directors, and the school directors gave it to Emina. Since Emina is too weak to go in battle, she just keeps records of what happens, in academia. And what happens in Class Zero, because secretly she knew that Class Zero were l'Cie all this time. Even though you choose a path to stay human, and choose a path to become a l'Cie, which changes the ending, because this game has multiple endings. What if it's possible that Emina Hanaharu knew that Class Zero was l'Cie all this time, and made a report of it? And she would make a report of it if she's the record keeper. That's why she's so big in the comic, because that means Square Enix acknowledge her as canon. That means in order to get the canon ending, you're going to have to interact with Emina Hanaharu. Whether you go do the side quest where she gold digs, I'm going to be honest, she does do some gold digging missions where she pretty much costs you a whole bunch of gil. But it would be worth it to get the original ending, because the original ending is one that is not the one where Kurosami is still alive. Kurosami is supposed to die. Now there's an extra ending where Kurosami is still alive and you still get Emina Hanaharu as a teacher. But this game has multiple endings. But it leads to one path. It leads to pretty much the setup for Final Fantasy 13. The Sanctum could be remnants of the Militestan Empire. The reason why I say that is that Bartandalonis probably knew that Sid failed his mission as a fal'Cie. So he probably built up the new world and turn the main characters from Final Fantasy 13 into l'Cie to test them. Because everything that happened in Final Fantasy 13 was actually a test. Bartandalonis was using lightning and them. But this could be the setup. Maybe after Sid Orulstein failed, Bartandalonis probably figured it out. I was like, you know what? That guy was a failure anyways. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to call this the Sanctum. It's the Sanctum. Scratch everything about the Militestan Empire. This is the Sanctum. And I'm pretty sure that Class Zero picked up records, picked up studies, picked up everything in the labs of these bases and gave it to the higher-ups in academia, and academia gave it to Hanaharu to become a record keeper. So that's why I think Emina Hanaharu is not only important, but she is the record keeper for academia. And also, that's how people knew about l'Cie and fal'Cie, because Emina Hanaharu is a record keeper. So tell me what you think in the comments below about this theory, and may the crystal be with you.